Welcome back, everybody. Finally, I have another review for you. I know that it's been a long time, and in fact, the last review that I posted, I think, was all the way back in February, and it was about this mouse right here, the Redragon Griffin. Unfortunately, once the COVID and lockdown nonsense all started to happen, and I was teaching classes remotely that had 250 students, something I happen to be doing right now, unfortunately, I just didn't have the time, and frankly, there wasn't a lot going on. But I am pleased to say that I'm now back to add another Redragon review for this mouse right here. This is the Redragon M686, otherwise known as the Vampire. And really, how can you turn down a mouse with a name like that? I mean, everything's better with a Vampire. Are you ordering fast food? Better with a Vampire. Are you getting your car repaired? Better with a Vampire. Whatever you're doing, it's just better with a Vampire. Now, Redragon is a company that, if you've seen my previous two reviews, one for this, the Griffin, and one for this Redragon Parvati keyboard, then you'll know that I've been very impressed with them based on their quality, their performance, and especially their price. My Redragon journey, and again, I say Redragon, but it's a weird word because it's not Red Dragon. There's only one D in there, and for some reason that bugs me, probably more than it should. Either it's Redragon or Red Ragon, but it's not really Red Dragon. But I'm going to call it that anyway because I just think it sounds better. Anyway, my journey began with this keyboard right here. And I got this because I needed to replace a Corsair. Now, anybody familiar with Corsair, or Razer for that matter, will know that their keyboards are big, they're expensive. Mine was $200, I think, and you can get them for more than that. And it also had two USB cables coming out of the back, one for the keyboard and one for the RGB. I didn't like that. I didn't want to spend all that money again. I wanted to find something that was sleeker, that had a slimmer profile, but that had all the functionality, and if I could find it for less, then I would have been happy with that. And what did I find? This very keyboard. This was the Parvati, and it was only about $45, and it was very highly rated. And so I thought, why not? I'll give it a try. The packaging didn't impress me, but the keyboard really did. It works great. It doesn't require software to be installed. You can control the RGB from the keyboard itself. And what I was really most impressed with were all the little touches that just make the quality of life better. For example, this right here. The cable comes out of the right side of the back rather than the center so that I don't have to thread it around my monitor stand. And it's just a small thing, but it makes an absolute world of difference. So I was really impressed with that. The price compared to the price along with the quality, I thought was really nice. So when I needed a mouse to replace a Razer Mamba, a mouse that frankly cost way too much and didn't perform all that well, and I had two of them, and they both started misbehaving in the same way, I went right back to Redragon. I was so impressed with their keyboard that I ended up getting this, the Redragon Griffin. I loved it, and again, it had a lot of features. It was very well designed, and some other nice touches like a braided cable that was red and black, no less, an added nice touch. It worked beautifully, it was very responsive, and it's worked flawlessly ever since I got it. So when I needed a new wireless mouse, again, Redragon, and it just so happens that they have this guy. Again, it's the M686, and it's known as the Vampire. Now, the box it came in, while very nicely printed, you can see it's kind of a glossy thing going on there and there on the back, it was bashed up pretty good. I can't blame Redragon for that. It was late getting here, and so for all I know, it was Amazon or the Postal Service or something else. But the box isn't bad. I mean, they've put some effort into doing it, especially considering the price point. But inside, all that we had was this, just the mouse and the braided cable, which, interestingly enough, for something called a Vampire, is just a black braided cable, unlike the red and black here. And other than being bitten by one, what screams out Vampire more than red and black? But we're going to live with this. Also, something I'll add quickly is that it plugs into your mouse with a USB-C cable, but it plugs into whatever you're plugging it into with a USB-A cable, with a USB-A adapter. So I don't know if that's good or bad. You can make up your own mind about that. But the cable is a nice braided cable, as you can see, and I think it's a really nice touch, especially considering the price point. Oh, I don't think I mentioned that. This was $45, and there's actually a $3 off thing going on. I guess I can give them credit because the USB dongle ends with red. So that's a nice touch considering it's the Vampire. And while we're talking about that, it plugs into the bottom here, and it doesn't fall out. I really like that. That is a nice touch. Very sizable on my hand. It's the same size as this, which was relatively big to begin with, as I mentioned in my earlier review. And this, while the same length, is wider. I like the way it feels. It's got a good grip on it. It's nice textured area right here, and it just feels nice. We've got three, let's see, there they are, 3 buttons on the side. We've got the buttons on the top. The mouse wheel ratchets back and forth. We also have a mode switch on the bottom, as you can see here. This sets polling speed to 125 or to 1000, whichever one you want. It just switches between them. And we also have, if you can see here, eco off and on. On the eco setting, the RGB doesn't come on at all. And on the on it does, but it will shut off after some time of no use. And you can see that the RGB is nice and bright. It's not lighting up all that much because I don't actually have it plugged in. I mean, I've got the thing right here, and I'm going to plug it in a moment to show you some other stuff. But I'll just keep moving it around a little bit, and you can see, as compared to the other two, this is just as bright, just as vibrant, and just as noticeable. So a really nice mouse, just from the industrial design of it. It's very well designed, it feels good, it's heavy, it's sturdy, it doesn't feel cheap, and it's a pleasure to use. Let me plug it in and I'll show you some other things. Now that I have it plugged in, you can see that the RGB effects are staying on a little bit longer. One thing I want to point out are these buttons here. They are reprogrammable. However, they start out as DPI down and DPI up. We're starting here at the bottom with red, and as you can see, if we press here, it goes up to blue, that's 2000 DPI. Then it goes up to green, that's 4000 DPI. We go up to yellow, that's 8000 DPI. And we go up to orange. I don't know how well you can see the difference between that and yellow, and that's 16,000 DPI. Now, again, you can reprogram these, and I don't know if you'd really want to be pressing those by accident while you're doing something with it, but it's a nice thing to have. And all the buttons are reprogrammable. I left something off that I had to come back and make right, and that was some details about the mode switch here. And so, as I mentioned, this will switch the mouse polling rate between 125 Hertz and 1000 Hertz. And if you press that button here, you will see that it blinks this purple color either 4 times very slowly or 4 times very quickly. And accordingly, if it blinks slowly, that means it's set to 125 Hertz, and if it blinks quickly, it is set to 1000 Hertz. Now, for me, 1000 Hertz is way too fast. The pointer flings all over the screen like it's being teleported, and the 125 is a little bit sluggish, but much easier for me to control. Now, your mileage may vary. You may prefer the fast response times of 1000 Hertz. I don't think I'd really need that, but I still think that the pointer is a little sluggish, so it's going to take some adjustment afterwards. So with that, let's take a look at the software and see how that goes. Here we are with the software that Redragon allows you to download, and I'll put the link in the description of this video. And it's the software where I think Redragon really falls short. Not because it doesn't do what it says it will do, but because they claim that it can do things that it doesn't. So if we take a look here, we can see the standard reassigning button functionality. So this allows you to choose for any of the buttons on the mouse what you'd like them to do. And it's standard stuff. You can switch around what actual button it is, but you can do some other things as well. You can turn on the RGB. You can use it as a key combination, a macro. You can disable it. You can even do, this says multimedia, but there are other functions here, functions for navigating web pages, for example. So this is pretty standard with configuration software, and Redragon does a fine job here. It's not, it doesn't lack any functionality in this case. Under the Advanced tab, this is where things start to go a little funny. Now, the manual itself is written in relatively broken English with some grammatical and spelling errors, and I don't see that here, but I do see a lack of clarity. For example, here it says DPI. We all know what DPI means. You can turn off all but one of these, or you can set what you'd like the DPI to be when you switch it to that color. I'll put this back to 1000. So a nifty feature, a regular feature. But if you look here, it says DPI effect. What this really means is lighting effect for the scroll wheel. That's what it's talking about. And once you set it, you can't turn it off. It won't match up with the rest of the lighting. So you can set it to steady or respiration or off, but that's what it's saying. That's what DPI effect really means. It means what's the lighting effect for the scroll wheel. Now, I'm going to come back to that in just a minute. Hold on to that. Macros work the same as they work in most consumer software. I mean, even Excel records macros this way. You start recording, you press the button combination that you want to make the macro, and then you can save that. You can even insert additional macros if you'd like. I'm not going to go through the trouble of creating one. I don't use them anyhow. But if you do, and you'd like to be able to do that, then Redragon allows you to do that through the software here. And then to lighting. So lighting gives the standard effects. If we look here, there's steady, where it's just a steady, always-on color. There's respiration, the standard getting brighter, then darker, then brighter, then darker. We have streaming, which is a constant cycling of the colors, kind of like you see in the picture there. The thing is, Redragon says in the manual that you will be able to set the color for the logo and the effect for the logo separately from the rest of the mouse, but you aren't able to do that. You can set it for the logo and the side illumination, and they all work together. But you can't set it just for the logo, which is what they claim in the manual anyway. The other thing I wanted to mention is that if you look here, it says steady, respiration, streaming, and off. But if we look at this, it's steady, respiration, and off. There's no streaming. Now, I like to keep the rest of the lighting on streaming, but I have to choose something that doesn't match that for the scroll wheel. I think that's a shortcoming, and I don't know why they do it that way. I don't need to be reminded of what the DPI is all the time. I'm the set it and forget it kind of person. Now, that may be something that's useful to somebody else, and I'm okay with that, but you should offer all options for all the people who are going to be using it. It says that you can set continuous keystroke functions, but I wasn't able to find that. So there's some functionality that it promised and didn't deliver. What is here works. It works well. You have to apply every change that you make. And curiously, if you click cancel, it just shuts down the software altogether. So there's a clumsy nature to the software here. But what is here does work. I would just like a little more flexibility and a little more clarity in what is actually happening as you use the various areas of this software. Now, one other thing I wanted to say. I actually got this mouse not to use for my desktop up here, but to use with a PC that is connected to a big screen TV that I use down in the living room. I used a Logitech Bluetooth mouse down there, and it just didn't work well. The uneven surface of the coffee table that you can see there, and the mouse would skip, it wouldn't respond. You'd sometimes have to hold it at a weird angle to the table, and then maybe it would respond. It was just a mess. And I was hoping that maybe this one would be better. And lo and behold, it is. The textured nature of the coffee table top doesn't seem to interfere with its ability to move the mouse around the screen. It's very smooth, it's very responsive, and the distance isn't all that great. I'd say about maybe 10 feet perhaps, but even so, it responds beautifully, a real breath of fresh air compared to that crappy Logitech that I had been using. So there you go, that's my review of the Vampire Elite, and what other kind of vampire is there? They're elite vampires and there's nothing else. Maybe their next mouse can be called the Renfield. But as just somebody who doesn't use the software, I think the mouse is outstanding. I wholeheartedly recommend it. But if you intend to use a lot of the functionality that they promise or that is present here, then it's possible that you will be disappointed. But if you can make a couple of sacrifices, then I think you'll find that even that works very well. Thanks for watching.